Well, hello everyone. This is Kurt. He's the print guru. We're going to pick his brain today about what he does, why he does what he does, and all the questions we can think to ask. Kurt, I don't know. Kurt, I don't know if people have been calling you names behind your back, but in a good way. The Prince of Prince, the Digital Dom, the Sultan of Stretches, the Giclée Cliché, right? That's kind of some
like
things
that
we've done. Yeah, that's nice. So the most important question, what we're going to start off today, what does the fox say? All right, we're starting strong.
No idea.
I believe it's ring ding ding da ding da ding a ding. All right, good. 2. So when you print, and you're gonna print out work for somebody, you can do it on paper or canvas.
Mm-hmm.
More paper, more canvas. What have you found these days?
Well, it used to be more paper than canvas. Now it's almost a 50-50 mix. Because we have 3 types of canvases. We have metallic, we have glossy, and we have matte. The matte's the most popular because they put a textured coating on it so it looks more realistic to a painting.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool. And different papers?
We have photo paper, poster paper, a smooth art media, and a textured cold pressed art media.
And is it just the look that's different when it gets printed?
On the paper, yeah, the papers actually look different. They feel different. The matte media or the smooth art media actually has a velvety soft touch to it. And then the textured kind of mimics, it's a cold press, so it mimics watercolor paper really well.
Nice.
And it also doubles as if people want canvases printed on paper, the textured paper also works well with that.
Very cool. That last question was sponsored by Daniel Smith. Daniel Smith, the best manufacturer of Smith-named products in the art world. So I hear a lot of people come in and say, I need a print. I want a copy. I want a Giclée. Are they the same thing, different terms? What's our base for ordering these
Well,
days?
Giclée is how it's pronounced, but nobody knows how to pronounce it, so we go with Giclée or Gliclée. But it's the process. That is the process of how we make the prints here in-house. It's just a fancy word for really specialized inkjet printers, and we use 44-inch and 62-inch wide printers that are really designed for art reproductions. What was the other part of the question?
Well, as compared to a print,
okay,
or a copy.
Okay, a copy is, we don't do copies here, but a copy is pretty much a copying of the image. That doesn't mean it copies the color. We do reproductions, and a reproduction is we try to reproduce it on similar or like material with colors that are as close as possible to the original. So when we do a proof here, you actually can put the original next to the reproduction to see if you like the way the colors reproduce, and if they reproduce good, then it's ready to go. If you want some adjustments, then we talk about them and see what we can do.
Hey, very cool. So you're not wrong if you come and say I want a Giclée.
Right.
You're not wrong if you want a print, and we'll talk you off the ledge if you say I want a copy. Well, we're going to get you to where you need to be.
Yeah, I pull the bat out and I smack you over the head.
Okay.
Oh, I wasn't supposed to do that. Sorry.
Legally, you can't. No. So, are there trends out there? Are people making more prints of their work, selling more prints of their work? Once you get, to tell a secret of our process, we're going to digitize your artwork through a scan or through the photo lab here. And once you get that digitized, what are people doing with that? Can you do more with that?
Well, the digitized image right now, because of COVID, actually artists are doing pretty well because people are buying online more than going in. So when you get an image digitized, I digitize it in such a fashion to where you can downsize the image and put it online, put it in your digital gallery, put it on Facebook, any socials. You can make a YouTube slideshow, whatever you want with that. And you can submit it to other galleries and other showings. Also, the file is set up to be print ready, as long as you ask for a proof at the time. That way I color manage, and when I scan, the files can go anywhere from 4 to 8 times larger than the original. So if it's a 16 by 20, you can get up to a 4 foot by 8 foot with no problem from the scan.
Wow.
It just, now your art may not look good that big, depending on your little fine hairbrush stroke may look like you used your thumb and made a line on it because everything gets bigger, but some things do look nice when they're scaled up.
And conversely, if you take a larger size piece, you can only shrink it so far, I assume, before you start to...
Well, I can get it down to a stamp size, however you don't see any of the detail.
Yeah, details.
It's the detail. It just kind of compresses everything and you just see blobs.
Very cool. And seeing those, Bob, what is an average turnaround time for you? Are we next day, 2 days, week, month?
For a scan, I try to keep to a strict 7 days to proof. That means whether it's on paper or canvas, in 7 days from the time you drop it off, you can come in and view a proof. Rarely I miss that, but I usually try to communicate and let people know I need additional time. But generally it's 7 days. For a reorder from a color managed proof, on paper it's 1 to 2 days depending on when I get the order in. Canvas it's no less than 5 days because of the drying time, the clear coating, and the stretching.
Oh, very cool. This just in from our listener in Connecticut. I can heal and kill without touching you. What am I?
A doctor?
Well, these days you might be right. We're gonna go with time. That's an old-timey riddle. Very nice. So somebody comes in and says, I've never done this before. I want to sell. I'm going to give this away. Whatever their end use is. And you sit down and say, okay, let's talk this through. What are one or two most important things, takeaways for somebody coming into the shop? Is it the scan? Is it the paper they're going to use? Is it the output at the end? What's the number of prints somebody's going to...
I like to find out what they're going to do. The reason is I try to control, not control. I try to make sure that an artist has spent a lot of money up front but doesn't have a way of either selling or moving their product, because that's the biggest discouraging part for artists. Is they come in, they want a reproduction, they want to be able to sell it to people, but they haven't thought through the selling process. Now, they can give it away to friends and family with no problem, because usually friends and family like it and will take it. But if they're trying to make a living out of it, it's really important to have a place to show your work, an online presence like a website, and then the socials, so you can get your work out there. And then you're going to succeed, because most of the artists that went to the website, especially during COVID, have a place for people to see their work, enjoy their work, see a description, see the size, what's available, and that's how they're ordering for their home and business.
Very nice. And just so I'm on the same page, because I know we use buzzwords, and I don't even know what half the buzzwords mean sometimes, but if somebody comes in and asks, are these prints archival?
Yes, our prints are archival. They're rated for at least 120, 150 years. I kind of believe it, because when I first started this, well over 15 years ago, the place I first started it with, we wanted to make sure it was archival. So we had roof access, and while we were experimenting with materials and learning the equipment and the process, we put stuff up on the roof for 6 months. Unprotected. So we had a test subject that stayed down in the building. The rest went up on the roof. So when the wind, rain, snow, and sun, whichever ones fared the best are the actual products I'm still using now. Because most everything we have here, except for the poster paper, is archival. That's not archival, but I think you can get at least 40 years out of it. Archival is anything usually over 75 years or one generation. Most of the medias I have, you can use pen, ink, acrylics, oils, pastels, watercolors on to either make it a mixed media reproduction or to touch up something that just can't be reproduced. Like if somebody uses gold leaf on the original, the only way to replace gold leaf is to put gold leaf on to get the same effect. I had an artist that sold his piece. He only had a photograph of it. It wasn't a good photograph, but he wanted me to print it on the canvas. I enlarged it to the size he wanted, and then he went over and painted on it again, and then we rescanned it, and he's having reproductions done. So in that case, it's a mixed media reproduction, which in a lot of cases are more valuable than the originals, because artists really touched it and made it better, and he showed me the pictures of the other one and this one here together. So, well, I actually printed it, and we both agreed that the touched up piece that he painted over pretty much 95% looked better than the original.
It's interesting. I don't know if I have seen a ton of people getting a print done as a step in the process. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I get a lot of digital artists or graphic designers who actually design their work, have me print it so they can paint on it. I've had watercolor artists that want me to enlarge and print on a big piece of paper, but they can't draw large. Canvas artists that do originals, but they're afraid to go any further and ruin the original because they like it, but they want to fix something. So they have a reproduction done, and then they do the mixed media reproduction and go through and touch it up and change what they wanted to change, or see if it would have worked on the original, and either go back and do it on the original or leave the reproductions as a unique standalone piece.
Very nice. And just one more term that I hear every once in a while, limited edition. I assume that's just a finite run of reproductions.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can set that to whatever number you want.
Right. And it just depends on the piece. I've got some artists that go 10 as their limited edition because they are afraid that they can't sell it all out. And I've got some that have 1,000. The three type of reproductions that most people are concerned with is, one is the open-ended, which means it has no ending and it should be able to be purchased in 10 years for the same price, just based on inflation. Then there's a signed edition, which has the artist's signature on it, and then there's the limited edition, which is signed and numbered.
Very cool. So anything else you want to add? Again, speaking to somebody that's chased you down and goes, what does Kurt do? What is he thinking? Why are we doing this? They're new to this process, or you've met with them, or they've got prints done at a shop that's maybe cheaper and doesn't do the archival version. What lasting piece of advice do you have for them?
Well, really figure out what you want to do with your art. Again, you can go into the limited editions, the signed editions, or the open-ended. I have a few artists that actually do pieces of work and they actually go into merchandising.
Oh, sure.
What they do is they put stuff on t-shirts and mugs and all sorts of things. And that's the cool thing with your digital file. There's over 300,000 different ways you can use a digital file. Anything you've ever seen a print on, a pattern on, a design on, you can put your art on. Wallpaper, floor tile, sheets, hats, pants, jeans, shirts. You can wrap your vehicle with your art. It's pretty much endless. So you can have fun with your art. You can create something that you didn't like. And I tell artists, things you don't like, look at a different way of using your artwork. Even use it as a background. There are sites online that'll actually pay you money to either, they'll give you a royalty for letting them market your artwork online, to like Shutterstock and stuff like that, or they'll buy it outright so other people can use it for designs and stuff like that. So you make a little bit of money off of stuff you don't like. So
interesting. Now, there's another thing I never thought of. Along with that print, that's part of the process. I always think of the print as the end. Taking a piece of your artwork, a section of it, a texture of it, a grayscale, a tone of it, something to go create something else. Somebody out there in this world probably needs that content of some sort. Interesting.
Also, going with that, the digital files, I have the capability of shifting the colors. So with one piece, you can have multiple pieces, almost like an Andy Warhol effect. Also, I've had artists that have painted something, and the people that they painted it for, did the commission for, had something change on their property. Or one is Rocket Market up on South Hill. Those who live in Spokane, they purchased a statue that went in front of their building. One of the artists did a commission, but they said it's no longer accurate. So the artist came to me and said, well, if I repaint this, rescan it and stuff, and I said, well, you don't need to repaint the whole thing. Just take a piece of watercolor paper to scale and paint the statue. I will then scan the statue and digitally superimpose it on your other piece, and then that way you don't have to spend time altering or making a whole new piece. I've had another artist that has had to have a name changed on a sign because it's changed ownership or something. So we can digitally do some stuff like that. I can also digitally alter original things with the artist's permission to fix imperfections, or maybe you splattered something and you can't clean it off. I can digitally clean up your prints.
Very cool. Awesome. Thank you for letting us pick your brain.
Okay.
Now, we like to end much like the Actors Studio. They finish up with their 10 questions. We also have a few questions for our guests. These are based on the spoken word artist Salman Kaviglu's 86 questions from Baku. So, number 1, what is your favorite color?
Blue.
All right. Number 2, if you could create a piece of art for one famous person, living or dead, who would it be?
Chris Evans. I like Captain America.
I get that. What is keeping you up at night?
The nightlight.
Well, you should be able to fix that. All right. The last thing you binged?
Oh,
Chris
I think it was
Evans.
it was on Netflix, and it was Reacher.
Oh, okay.
The latest show called Reacher.
Nice. What would you order for your last meal?
Steak and lobster.
Good choice. And the world goes back to black and white. We don't need artists anymore. Shoo. What are you going to do to fill your time?
I'll bring art back.
Work to reverse it.
Yeah.
I like it. I like that. So I will
need a touch of color.
Just one touch. That's it.
Yeah.
So I will say, in working with Kurt for many years, yes, it's the day-to-day. Let's get some prints. Let's cut it up. Let's get your size figured out. But I will tell anybody who listens that Kurt is an artist. Not only is an artist, he paints and does 100 things. He has 5 jobs as far as I can tell. But in creating that reproduction, as he says, it's not a copy, it's a reproduction, trying to get it to match as close as it can. He is an artist. I don't know the 8, 9, 10 years that you've been here that we've had anybody that has ultimately ever left and gone, they didn't do what I wanted. Because A, we can fix it. B, we can update it. 10% orange here, or a sheet of gray over the top, or details. And it always comes out, in essence, what people want. So it's very cool. Great service, great guy, and I hope we all learned something. Thanks a lot.
Bye.